Hello everybody, I'm Sean's Mapping or the Sultanate Empire, and in today's video we are going to be continuing What If Civilization Started Over. In the last video we saw the Conference of America, and then we also saw the start of, I believe I called it the Shinduke or Shindik plague up here in Korea slash China area, and it has spread down into Southeast Asia through various different means and also Japan. But in today's episode, we are going to be focusing back in on World War One. We're going to be looking up primarily up here in North America, since this place is supposed to be a point of war, since the current warring factions, a part of World War One, all have colonial holdings over here. So, first things first, we see Ender's forces swiftly and fairly easily push into the holdings of the French, as the French don't really have much forces over here. It's literally pretty much all just local garrisons, because most of the primary French military that were stationed here were all pulled out of the um, colony for the primary front line. Like I said before, I think it was in like episode 37 maybe, or 36, one of the two. But the French pulling their forces out of their colonies will come back to bite them in the ass. And I mean that literally. It will. But with the additional forces that they received from their colonies, they were able to quickly and swiftly push back Ender. And after a pretty much a 4-month stalemate here in Italy, they were able to gain some footing and push back the Italians, taking two more major cities, but once again being halted by Italian defensive forces. Now, if we go ahead and look at the coalition map mode, we can see that all of the countries with the cross are a part of the French. All of the countries with the trapezoid are a part of Ender's alliance. And you can see this is a very, very, very big world war consisting of many, many countries. 3 countries used to exist down here, but eventually they reunited into the Orange Team. And already one of those countries' capitals did, in fact, collapse over to the African Pact here in Central Africa slash South Africa. But we look over at the colonies of Catalonia and also Portugal, as the Portuguese begin a slow but sure push into the Catalonian colony over here, which is fairly strong, not as strong as the Portuguese colony, that's for sure. But due to their guerrilla tactics and the way that they are fighting, and also some support from their people, the Catalonians are able to kind of create a semi buffer zone in Portuguese territory around their capital. And they're able to essentially just hold like so. But something else that does happen that is not good for the French is that this native country right here, that's been here for a fairly long time, begins to invade into their colony, just like so, through the various borders and land borders that they have. Now, they're not invading because they're allied with Ender or anything like that. They're invading because they want more land. With the Conference of America done, there is no more free land for them to gain, and they want to grow. And they realize that this is the opportunity for them to grow. So they simultaneously invade the cut off portion of Catalonia's colony over here, alongside invading into France's colony. Now the French, realizing that oh no, this is very very bad, begin to send more reinforcements and troops from the front line over here to try and hold on to their colonial possession, considering New England is their biggest colony that they have. However, small problem about that. The governor or the viceroy of New England no longer wants to be a part of the French's empire. And so he begins his breakaway. And various major cities, primarily in the more northern part of New England and New England itself, begins to break away alongside him in rebellion against the French. But the thing is, they don't want to be controlled by Ender. So it kind of turns this into a three front war between the French, Ender, and also the rebels, as the rebels are fighting everyone. But we also see rebel forces pop up down here in like small little pockets, like so. Some right over here in this area, just like this. We then also see some rebels pop up down over here in this region right here. But thanks to the now rebels that have popped up, the Portuguese now have an easier time invading the Catalonians, considering the Catalonians fear their colony breaking away, so they kind of slowly begin to consolidate some power within their colony, and they ensure that the viceroy or governor or whatever you want to call him maintains his loyalty to the crown, and that is exactly what happens. Now, the native population of the French colony, which is also semi like colonizer slash settlement people, uh, don't really fight against the native people, as they don't really see a need to, considering the natives aren't here to turn them into a colony. They're literally annexing the territory as core territory, a part of their empire. However, Ender is not doing that. They are being turned into a colony if they get taken over by Ender, and they are done being a colony to outside European powers. Who would expect that? The Europeans are losing their colonies to rebellion and civil war. Wow. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We do see Ender's forces with the split within the French colony. He does easily invade into the French's holdings, and he also does easily take out this pocket of rebels right over here. And he does begin to slowly invade into the main rebel area, pushing towards the viceroy and the capital of New England. Meanwhile, the rest of the state essentially falls over to rebel forces. But the rebellion is not done just yet, as their rebellion does not stop there. The rebellion actually keeps going as they begin to spread their rebellion into Catalonia, and they actually begin to push into Catalonia itself. This front is quickly becoming an all-out, total like conflict slash war in this area, and eventually they look something like this, with them controlling all of this. Now, due to their forces having to be split even more, we see them quickly get pushed out of and pushed back by the Portuguese from this area. And eventually, it will look something like this. The Portuguese will be able to invade through this area and continue pushing along their front lines. And they're eventually able to seize the capital after 2 weeks of sieging it down. They're able to seize the capital of the Catalonian colony, and the rest of the colony kind of just falls over to the hands of the rebellion. Kind of looking something like this. Now, the rebellion isn't going to hold this, as the Portuguese are going to continue to push up against them and try and take over Catalonia's colony all for themselves. But that is for a later date, as we are going to kind of zoom over to Africa and also like the Iberian area. But first, we're going to focus down here. As well, things are going downhill for the Orange team slash the Orange Empire, or whatever you want to call them. Also, before we actually get into that, I would just like to show everyone a new layer that I have created. And this layer is, if I can find it, this one. No, no. Oh, you guys get a sneak peek at what is to come in future episodes for ideologies. Where is it? Where is it? Is it this one? No, it's not this one. Hold on, I know it's here somewhere. I know I put it here somewhere. I know I put it here somewhere. I just need to remember where it is. Here it is. Here is the current rankings of the top 10 powers within the world. We have the African Dominion at 1, which is, of course, the blue team down here in the southern portion of Africa. Oh, excuse me. Number 2 is, of course, India. Number 3 is the African Cardillian Kingdom, which is the orange team. The Western Iberian Empire is number 4, which is Portugal. Brittany, which is, of course, the French. African Confederation, which is the red team down here. The South African Empire, which is, of course, the South Africans down there. The United Islands of Southeast Asia, which is Silver's country, right over here, of Indonesia. We have the Sea King's Empire, which is technically the Norwegians because of their colonial holdings. And then we have the Eldarian Empire, which is, of course, Ender's Empire, hence the name Eldaria, or Eldirian, or however you want to call it. Sorry, again, I am a little, tiny, witty, bitty sick, so I will be coughing from here to there. But that is the current rankings for the war. Well, for before the war and for the current moment of the war. Go ahead, and if you want to look at that and like read into it a little bit more to like properly get yourselves associated with each of the names and each of like the countries that those names represent, then please pause the video at that point, and also um what's it called, pause the video there, go back, pause the video, and kind of look at it and look at all the names and the numbers and what's not you have. But anyways, besides that, we see the orange team push heavily into this major city right here, kind of cutting this area off from the rest of the country, as the orange team may not have proper and like ready trained troops for this war, but they do have numbers, as the orange team is the most populated country currently in the world, compared to India, which India is the second most populated. But there is some good news for the orange team, as well as they're able to kind of push back the blue team down here in this area, going like so. using once again their numbers. But unfortunately, that does not last, as the blue team will quickly once again push them back due to the blue team also having quite a bit of population. Not as much as the orange team or India, but the Dominion, which again is the blue team, does have a fairly good amount of population and their army is fairly big and it is actually properly trained as well. But we will actually be looking at the blue team pushing and actually seizing this island and also this island out in the waters and continue pushing just like so. And their Central African ally here is actually going to give up their occupied territory over to the blue team, and then the blue team is going to just kind of continue pushing alongside probably allied forces that are helping the blue team push just like so. And in being able to push to right up about here, the blue team gives much needed supply to the cutoff forces of the West African Union here, which that is what this country is. This country is the West African Union. And this country is primarily desert, but for lore reasons, that's why they have a lot of cities. Let's go ahead and look down here at the South African Confederation and the South African Empire. The South African Confederation, with a little help from their puppet state uh, right over here, begins to quickly and easily push against the South African Empire, as the South African Empire, without any real support or aid, has no real way to combat the African Confederation, as the African Confederation is, by technicality, stronger than them due to their size and also the fact that they have support from the blue team as well. But eventually, it's gonna look something like this, and this is where the South African Empire is able to stop the African Confederation. Also, primarily because the African Confederation has all of this territory over here in Madagascar. But in other news, things go bad for Tanzania as Tanzania begins to once again be invaded, and they have once again picked the wrong side of the war. But some good news does come once the blue team reaches to like right about here. And what is that good news, you may be asking? Well, that good news is the king of Tanzania has just died of an illness. Tanzanian forces pull out of the pink team. Serbian forces begin to get pushed back by, you guessed it, Tanzanian forces. As you see, the son of Tanzania, well, the crowned prince, I should say, of Tanzania, was actually dating in secret and secretly married to the third princess of the Dominion, which means by technicality and by marriage, the Tanzanians and also the Dominion are now in a formal alliance due to marriage. Now, when this came out, people were fairly mad, and the people of Tanzania aren't really happy to be working with the Dominion, but then they realized if they work with the Dominion, and this was the crown prince after taking over for his father saying this in a speech. If we work with the Dominion, we can grow our empire to feats it has never been at before, and to heights and strengths that we've never had ever in our history. And so, the people of Tanzania aren't really that like nationalistic. They are fairly nationalistic, but compared to like let's go over here. Compared to like the French, who like are basically my world's version of let's say like the red team from what's it called from Adis Pro's Wixo, and then like the South African Empire down here is basically my version of his purple team of Rome. Um, so like the French have semi nationalism. Like they have a fair bit of nationalism. Like it's not easy to convince their people to betray their country. And then like down here in like South Africa, it's just like outright impossible. You cannot tell their people otherwise. They are very nationalistic towards their country. But Tanzania helps them push into this area just like so, and fairly easily, just like that. Now, as you can see, this war isn't really going well for anyone. It's kind of like back and forward. Only a couple countries have collapsed here and there, but eventually we see even more collapse as the Aegean loses their king. They lose their king. How sad. And, well, their new queen, well, she's a pacifist. So she outright just surrenders over to the Turks and to Turkey, which isn't good because with her capitulation and surrender, the Egyptians are kind of left alone. Kind of, I say kind of because not really. They have the English hard. The Serbians, God, why was I struggling so hard to say their name? But that doesn't help or save them because the Egyptians, like their capital is like right on the border, and like put they can't really put it anywhere else because it's still going to get taken either way. So yeah. But the Egyptians quickly concede over to the uh Turkish right over here. Meanwhile, things begin to go up for Ender as, well, the French begin to lose support for this war amongst their people, and also because the allies of Ender are beginning to slowly but surely get freed up. And with that, the Serbians can no longer push into Ender or even push into the Italians, which they had made plans for. But those plans must be halted now. In the meantime, the Serbians get pushed back as the Portuguese push back the Catalonians even more. The Serbians get pushed back along this line, just like so. And they eventually end up looking something like this in terms of their frontal forces, and kind of get pushed back and lose pretty much all this territory right over here in this area, and Ender is able to take back most of this land right here. Meanwhile, the French have a major blunderbuss, and their front line absolutely collapses after forces are retreated back. Denmark begins to get retaken back by Ender's forces, and let me just say, no bueno. No, oh bueno. Ender's forces quickly and swiftly, as French forces begin retreating, capture multiple people and killing even more. Their navies make a couple naval landings in certain areas as ground forces push forward and push up. And it looks like this may even be the end of the French invasion of Germany slash Poland slash the Eldarian Empire. But we basically see the French basically pull back to regular borders and try and attempt to set up a defensive line to hold back Ender's forces. which in the long run, it works for about a year or so. Mind you, this war has been going on for 17 years, the longest ongoing war ever. This war started in the early 1800s. So it started in literally the 1800s. It started at 1800 and now it's 1817. So this war has literally been going on for 17 years. And it does not look like there is an end in sight yet. But the Italians find a foothold, and well, they don't find a foothold, they find a chance and an opening to push the French back on their front, which they do with relative ease, pushing back and actually beginning a mini invasion into the French. And that invasion looks something like this. No, that is not the color I am looking for. These are not the droids you're looking for. Star Wars reference. And let me just change the color of the Italians real quick because them and the Turks look way too similar for my liking. Like I cannot if I was to have them border each other, I would not be able to tell the difference. And considering Ender watches my videos, he's gonna look at it and probably because his dumb butt is colorblind as a bat, probably won't be able to tell the difference between Italy and frickin' Turkey, anyways. So I have to change their color for him as well. But the Italians, back to the video. The Italians begin their invasion down here, which completely disrupts the defensive line that the French had. And well, as they get invaded, the people begin to try and stand up against Ender's forces and against Ender's people. But then the Emperor does something stupid. He force conscripts multiple citizens from A, his remaining colony that he has, and also B, from his main core territories in England, Ireland, and also the main territory of France. He begins conscripting civilians to go fight for his his war. Now the people were already fighting Ender, and that's already a good thing. But they then start fighting the French, and it kind of just dissolves, and the French kind of just capitulate into infighting and civil war. So that's the French dealt with in one swift blow. But the Serbians, attempting to hold on to what little they have left, are unable to, as the Turks, after organizing, quickly push in and in a swift 2 weeks take the Serbian capital, causing the Serbians to capitulate as well. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, this video has been going on for just a wee bit longer than expected. I'm Sean's Mapping, or the Sultanate Empire. If you enjoyed today's video, I suggest you go hit the like button beneath the video. If you didn't, you can hit that dislike button and tell me in the comments how much you think the video sucks. But if you want to see more of the kind of content I upload and possibly even gaming videos to be uploaded to my channel in the future, which I'm still trying to work out the kinks for, nudge nudge, wink wink, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified of every time and the next time I upload or make a post onto my channel. I'm Sean's Mapping, or the Sultanate Empire. I hope you beautiful ladies and gentlemen enjoy the rest of your day or night or wherever you may be and wherever you may live. And I'll see all of you in the next video. See ya!